Well, hello, stranger. Welcome to the video. I want to apologize because it's been like a week, I think, or more since I made a video. Um, been a little busy becoming a grandfather. Let me tell you all about this really quick. So thought we were going to have a grandbaby on the 6th. And grandbaby had other plans. So last weekend, spent all night Friday night with my daughter at the hospital. She was a freaking rock star. She handled the contractions, the labor, the delivery, and then everything that happens after the delivery, getting up and taking care of the baby and everything. She was just a freaking pro. I was amazed, very proud of her. And it has been fun. Baby is doing great. Mom is doing great. Everybody is happy. Emily's grandmother has lost her damn mind over this baby, as have many of us. She's beautiful, and she's doing really, really good. That whole, basically threw everything else kind of out the window. Sorry, guys, but I'm back, and I'm going to try to do several videos this week to kind of play catch up, this being one of them. But I did want to say that I got some really nice feedback on social media from a lot of folks saying congratulations and basically being really, really supportive of my daughter and my granddaughter. So, okay, now, lest you think I have forgotten, we have a contest going on. If I can get the, hello, there we go. We have a contest going on for a few more weeks until the end of August. It is going to be basically if you go out and purchase the Audible audiobook of The Queen's Road, which came out in print back in June. June, back in June, and was released last December on Audible as an Audible exclusive, Audible Original. You pick that up, you screen capture, just something that I know that you bought it. And that will put, and then put it with the comments or send it to me through email or however you want to do it. Basically, that will put you in the running for a autographed hardcover of The Queen's Road from Falstaff Books. And we're going to run that contest through the end of August, and then I will choose a winner. And it could be you. Yes, you. Right there. I see you. Stop slouching. Spit out that gum. Could be you. So we got that going on. Also, exciting news. I literally, an hour or so ago, finished up a piece of short fiction, a short story I did for my Patreon people. If you jump on my Patreon, there is a tier where you get short fiction from me every freaking month. How's he do it? I don't know how he does it, because this short story was supposed to be like 2,500 words, and it's over 5,000. It's over 6,000. It's a lot. It's a lot over where it was supposed to be. But it's also an idea I had had for a novel that I think ended up being a better short story than it would have been a novel. But, maybe I can come back to it. If it gets good feedback and people really seem to like it, I could expand it. It's called Shiva, and it will be up on Patreon tomorrow. And exclusive to my Patreon folks who buy into that tier or above. And then I'm going to send it out into the universe and try to sell it to make a little bit more cheddar. And I will keep you guys posted on how that goes. So I feel very accomplished in that, because I was actually working on that. I wanted to have it done and out sooner than this. But everything that happened with the baby really threw things off. And that's life. You're writing lesson 101. Your life is going to happen. and you have to try to like get your writing, get your words in as best you can around that. But don't get like stupid. I mean, it's like, honey, I can't help you with delivering the baby because I gotta get this short story finished. No, that is not how that works. So, however, this will be an interesting exercise because the next one I'm doing for this month, I'm working on it this month, and it'll be for next month on Patreon. The working title is Elevator Pitch, and I am trying to make that 2,500 words. Gotta be tight, gotta be tight. And part of that is because I've got a novel I'm working on, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, I don't want to spend the whole month working on a short story when I could be working on my novel. But I also want to discipline myself and say, okay, I said 2,500 words. Damn it, it's going to be 2,500 words. It hardly ever works out that way, even with novels. Even with novels, if the contract is saying 80,000, 90,000 words, a lot of times I've delivered something that was over that amount. But I try. Well, for example, with Men in Black, they wanted 80,000 words, and I knew that was a firm 80,000 words. So I approached that as I've got to have it in this point right here. A lot of times with novels, you can work with your editor, and sometimes they'll be like, okay, that's a little bit longer than we asked for, but we like it. And also part of their job is to trim it down too. So basically, this short story, I am very proud of it. I'm actually very excited about it. I think it turned out very well, but it is longer than I had sort of set up as a format for Patreon. So you Patreon people are going to get a little treat. You're getting a little extra bang for your buck. But I hope folks like it, and I will go into a little more detail about it after it's been out there for a little while. But had a lot of fun writing it, and feel very happy that it's kind of out the door now. That's I've still got to edit and all that stuff, but it is out the door. The writing part's finished. Okay. George R.R. Martin. This is a little bit behind the times. You probably already heard this. It's kind of like, this is like, when you open up your fridge and you've been gone for a little while, and it's like, oh, look what's in here. Oh, let's see, is that still good? You sniff it. You sniff George R.R. Martin. Yeah, I think he's okay, at least for another week. I think he's okay for at least another week. I don't think it'll be spoiled yet. So George Martin was doing a video hosting of the Hugo Awards for the World Science Fiction Convention, and he did not have a great night. Let's take a look, shall we? There we go. George, where are you, buddy? George! There we go. There he is. Look at that. Look at that face. Look at that face. That little touring cap. He always has that going on. So I met George Martin at Mysticon a few years back, and he seemed like a pretty nice guy. He's wound a little tight. I mean, the guy's been writing forever, and he's got a lot of great stuff to his credit. He has the wildcard books, which I actually really love. The wildcard books, I enjoy those more than anything else he's written. I like the wild cards because part of it is it's a shared universe. And basically what happened is George Martin was a referee. He was like a dungeon master, and he was running a game called Super World, which was put up by Chaosium. And if you guys remember Super World, if anybody got any old school gamers here, it was not exactly what I would call, like cutting edge role playing. But I actually have an affinity myself for kind of games that are sort of stinkers, but you can kind of fuck around with them and make them your own. And so George was running a Super World game with a bunch of his buddies I guess it was in Arizona, I think, New Mexico, Arizona. And people sitting around his table were people like Melinda Snodgrass, who used to write for Star Trek The Next Generation, and she's written a lot of other great stuff. I believe Roger Zelazny actually sat in on some games. He has a character that he wrote in the books, and I mean, just really cool guys to sit around and game with. And at some point, apparently, they were devoting so much time and energy to the game that they're like, guys, we got to figure out some way to make some money off this. It's cutting into our writing. It's cutting into our business. So Wild Cards was born. And George Martin has been very particular about who he lets write in Wild Cards, much like he said that no one's going to finish Game of Thrones for him. So I enjoyed Wild Cards. Night Flyers, I liked the story more than the TV show. The TV show was kind of but and of course he was connected with Beauty and the Beast, the show back in the 80s, I believe. I remember watching it. I think it was the 80s. I don't remember a lot of the 80s. No, anyways. But he did a lot of good stuff with Beauty and the Beast. And he's written, he did some stuff with Twilight Zone. There was a revival of Twilight Zone in the 80s as well that George Martin was tied up with. So, I mean, the guy's got chops. He's done really great stuff. And people love his Game of Thrones books. They kind of were his breakthrough thing. He has gotten a ton of crap about it being forever since the last book came out. And he has been a little bit distracted, and he kind of, went Hollywood. He had a lot of, other stuff happening. He's been very instrumental in trying to get some other people's stuff to TV. So the guy's got a lot on his plate. He's also, like, I think in his 80s, 70s, 80s. He is not what we call a spring chicken. And that's coming from me. So George is hosting the Hugo Awards. And let me move this down here. Let me just read you a little bit. This is an article from Esquire. George, and actually it's not really an article. It's more of like a editorial piece. So they've got it kind of put together here so it looks like an article. But as you'll see as we get into it, it is not. It is someone's opinion. So George Martin's controversy at the Hugo Awards highlights a power struggle in sci-fi and fantasy. The beloved Game of Thrones author has responded to accusations of racism and transphobia during the virtual ceremony. When Game of Thrones was still on the air, the show was rightfully criticized for its gratuitous depiction of rape. According to one fan who crunched the numbers, by the series' 5th season, it had depicted or recounted 50 acts of rape or attempted rape. On average, there wasn't a single episode of the show that was free of sexual assault. But what fans who had read George R. R. Martin's A Song of Fire and Ice series might not have known is that when it comes to sexual violence, Game of Thrones' source material is far, far worse. The 5 books in Martin's series include 4 times as much rape as the show, with 214 acts of sexual violence included. It's not super surprising that Martin wasn't a paragon of sensitivity as host of the digital 2020 Hugo Awards last Friday. As I said, an opinion piece. This person has obviously got an angle that they're supporting here, and away we go. The awards, which honor achievements in science fiction and fantasy, have in recent years begun to recognize the contributions that women, the LGBT community, and people of color are making to speculative fiction. And in contrast to the diverse slate of nominees and winners, Martin has been criticized for focusing his remarks on white men, mispronouncing the names of nominees, and making transphobic jokes during the awards. This thoughtless approach towards the issues of race and class from an author who can be so very thoughtful on other subjects is unfortunately pretty much in keeping with the Song of Ice and Fire books. And this controversy is a perfect example of the progress the sci-fi fantasy genre still has to make, and the lessons that its icons like Martin still need to learn and accept. And then, of course, they have some Twitter stuff here, some Twitter quotes from people who are just freaked out by what he said and what he did. Twitter is not exactly what I call a accurate barometer of the whole, kind of spectrum of science fiction and fantasy. There are folks who can make themselves appear very loud and very powerful on Twitter, when in fact they are not. Well, they're loud, they're just not that influential. Virtual attendees noted that in his remarks, Martin seemed to dwell on praising white male writers of old, including some with a history of racism, rather than engaging with the nominees and their work. The Hugo Awards were at first held in 1953, but it wasn't until 2016 that a Black person, acclaimed author N.K. Jemisin, who is freaking awesome. If you have not read any of her stuff, please do. She is amazing. She really is amazing. N.K. Jemisin She also is writing Green Lantern right now, I think, which is called Far Sector. And I don't know as much about that. I have not had the opportunity to read it, but I have heard that she's doing it. But anyways, yeah, I'm really enjoyed everything I've read by N.K. Jemisin. She won the prize for Best Novel in 2016. She also took home the prize in 2017 and 2018, making her the only writer to ever pull off a Best Novel hat trick. According to former Hugo nominee Natalie Lures, Martin mentioned this feat but quickly pivoted to praising a white male author who also won the award 3 times in a 9-year span. Okay. He also reportedly praised H.P. Lovecraft and John W. Campbell, now dead writers who won retrospective honors at the ceremony, despite the fact that each has had an extensive record of racism. Because of his bigotry, an award named in Campbell's honor was rechristened just last year. Some viewers took Martin's repeated praise of Campbell to be a subtle criticism of writer Jeanette Ng, the Hugo winner whose advocacy spurred the prize's renaming. Over the course of the event, Martin also bungled the pronunciation of nominees' names and of the Black literary magazine Faya, and joked about the Oscar statue's genitalia in a manner insensitive to transgender and gender nonconforming people. It's not the first controversy the Hugos have seen in recent years. The awards are hosted by the World Science Fiction Convention and voted on by Worldcon attendees. As the ceremony becomes more inclusive in the early 2010s, As the ceremony became more inclusive in the early 2010s, it sparked a backlash from conservative fans, some of whom gathered in groups dubbed the Sad Puppies and the more explicitly alt-right Rabid Puppies, which organized voting blocks to support a more conservative white and male slate of authors. Martin was one of the many critics of the Puppies' efforts. There was never any need for Sad Puppies to take back the Hugos, he wrote in 2015. The feminist minorities, literary cliques, and social justice warriors never took them in the first place. On Saturday, Martin responded to the criticism in a comment on a blog post about the controversy. I do hereby apologize to everyone and anyone whose name I mispronounced. I am deeply sorry, Martin wrote. That was never my intent. It did address the transphobic, It didn't address the transphobic remarks, though the event's organizer later apologized to fans beyond the binary and explained that his remarks focused on retro writers rather than honorees in an effort to lay out the history of the awards. A representative has confirmed to Esquire that Martin wrote the comment. It's easy to understand that a 71-year-old, who's in his 70s, 71-year-old might feel the pull of nostalgia in addressing a community that he's been part of since his teenage years. But while Lovecraft, Campbell, and others may be part of the Hugos' history, not everyone can have as rosy remembrances of them as Martin does. Campbell was an influential writer, and also I've enjoyed stuff I've read by Campbell until his death in the early 70s. And according to acclaimed writer Samuel Delany, he refused to publish a story Delany wrote simply because it had a black protagonist. There are still people who were directly harmed by Campbell's racism living and working today. Thankfully, the future of speculative fiction looks very different. Just take a look at the photos of Friday's winners. And they weren't selected by a handful of insiders, but by hundreds of sci-fi fantasy fans. Maybe the criticisms he's receiving will help Martin to better understand the current values of a community he so clearly loves. And then it goes into a little bit about how in his own work, Martin has not exactly been what you'd call sensitive to a lot of his female characters. They go through a hell of a lot of stuff in the books. Let's see. Martin has responded to criticism that his works includes gratuitous rape scenes by suggesting that realism demands that rape, unfortunately, is still a part of the war today. I don't think the world today. He said in 2015, "It's not a strong testament to the human race, but I don't think we should pretend it doesn't exist. Men are also frequently sexually assaulted, but Martin hasn't felt that he should write numerous graphic depictions of such acts for realism's sake." History, like reality, can be tough to analyze subjectively. Just as H.P. Lovecraft is an important part of fantasy history, so is N.K. Jemisin. And so are the 2020 nominees who are making Hugo history right now. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire doesn't feel animated by the out-and-out hatred that fuels the like of the rabid puppies, but rather a complete indifference towards interrogating and inherited tropes. Let's see. Yeah. It's an indifference that came through in Martin's role as the Hugo Awards host. And by highlighting the perspective of these diverse winners of the Hugo Awards, the genre is attempting to move beyond the narrow and regressive point of view that has dominated sci-fi fantasy books for half a century. This should be an opportunity, as he continues to finish his beloved fantasy series, for Martin to learn and grow from his mistakes, talk to those out there criticizing him, and expand his worldview as the genre continues to be more inclusive to perspectives other than his own. So like I said, it's an editorial piece, and I clearly is coming at it from a certain direction. I have actually watched the gaffes and stuff that he made. There's some videos out there on YouTube you can find of them. And I think what we're dealing with primarily here is George Martin is an old guy, and I deal with this. I'm in my 50s. You get to a certain point in your life, and a lot of your frames of reference are kind of locked or set, and you have to really fight and struggle to get past those frames of reference. It's just because they become comfortable. So I think that George Martin maybe wasn't that prepared. I have been prepared when I come out and do one of these videos, and I'll still fuck up somebody's name or say it wrong. It's not racist. It's just a mistake. And I also think it's I think it is important that you look at historical figures, all historical figures, through the lens of reality, through the lens of them being human beings. H.P. Lovecraft wrote absolutely amazing stuff that has influenced generations of writers. He was, in real life, a rolling dumpster fire of neuroses, and for his time and his age, he was very prejudiced. He writes shitty dialogue. His dialogue is horrible. His narrative is pretty good, and the material he created out of wherever the hell that came from is amazing. So yes, he can be a racist and still be an influence on science fiction and fantasy and horror. Those don't have to be, it's not an either or. And I am very much not in the camp of like Orwelling our history, of burning down anything that is ugly or inconvenient. I like my history messy and fucked up. I want to know the whole story. I want to know that I can admire someone for this thing and absolutely like hate them for this. That's being human. So I think George Martin is kind of reliving the good old days. Old guys have, let me tell you this story. I've told it to you 50 times. I'm going to tell it to you again. So he's in his 70s. He's like that. But again, you have, if we live in the world, you have to change and adapt with the world. You have to try to stay in it, not just kind of like crawl in your cave with your memories and huddle up there. And that's what I mean. Look, I just got a brand new grandbaby, and I got to tell you, keeping up with a baby, easier 25 years ago. It just was. 23 years ago. 23 years ago. It just was, because I was a different person. I was younger, a little feistier. So I am hopeful that, and there are some folks out there who are absolutely zero tolerance, not forgiving, won't take an apology. Apparently Martin said something, and a lot of folks were like, that is not an apology. If you pay me, I'll teach you how to apologize. And it's like, okay. I don't agree with people who think it's just all or nothing. I don't agree with people who think you just erase someone because of some inconvenient part of them, some part of them that's ugly or flawed. You take the whole person. You take the good and you take the bad. And I am interested to see how this goes. I'm also interested to see if maybe this puts a fire under George R. Martin's ass and he gets the next book done in the Songs of Fire and Ice, because it is like he has made every freaking excuse he can make. And yes, I know George Martin is not our bitch, but you know, it's like anything else, and you know, this is a business, and if he wants to stay relevant, if he wants to stay someone that his name is associated with publishing, with books, with success, then he needs to get his ass back in gear. And maybe getting a little negative criticism. You know, he's gotten a lot of kudos, a lot of petting over the years. Maybe a little negative reinforcement here might get him moving again. Being like, crap, these guys are not as, they're not forgiving, they're not forgetting. I better get this book finished. So we will see. Again, I know this is a little bit kind of after the fact, but hey, grandbaby, so I make no apologies. It is good to be back and talking with you guys. I missed y'all, and I really have been enjoying this. And I will keep you posted on everything that's going on with my daughter and my son and my grandbaby. I don't like to drag them into too much of this, you know, but I do want you guys to be aware of, you know, what's going on in my world, and they are my world. So anyways, I think that's going to wrap us up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Please click on that bell, and that will give you notifications when I get a new video out. And like I said, I'm going to try to put a bunch out this week if I can, because I got to play catch up. Share the videos if you don't mind. If it's something that you are, you know, if you think is interesting or relevant, or that someone else would be interested in, please share them, because I really am trying to push to get more subscribers. For purely venal me, I just want profit. I just want some money, a little cheddar. I'm a broke ass writer. I want a little cheddar. So please share them, subscribe, and you guys take a look at my Patreon and see if it's anything in there you'd like. Like I said, brand new story, fresh out of the oven, coming out tomorrow. So check that out if you haven't had a chance, and share that too. I'd appreciate it. I got a grandkid to start saving for. And she's beautiful. She really is beautiful. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you again soon on the next video. Everybody take care, and see you soon. Bye.